What? I understand I got a lot on my mind.
What's going on, everybody? Lloyd Jones with Midnight Comics here, and welcome back to another episode of Indie Breakdown, where we break down all your favorite indie comic book characters, stats, powers, and abilities to determine who would win the eventual indie versus matchup. Today, we have an awesome guest here today. Really doesn't need much of an introduction, but you guys are going to be very excited to see who we got on the final episode of this season of Indie Breakdown. Let's bring them on stage. What's going on, boss?
Whoa, what up, man? How we feeling?
Man, pretty good, man. Pretty good.
I appreciate you having me on, bro.
Of course. So we're gonna talk about the man, the myth, the legend. Let's talk about Akolyte a little bit. We can start with, before we dive into the powers and stuff, let's talk a little bit about the inspiration for the character, kind of how you came up with him and all that good stuff, and then we'll dive right on in.
So Akolyte was inspired by, first and foremost, by me and just my life in general. He was modeled after me and everything that I love, as far as astrology and astronomy, everything, space travel, music production. I wanted to incorporate all of that element into this character, as well as my family dynamic, and just wanted to put it into a really dope story that could stand the test of times. So for those that don't know, Akolyte is a story about a man that discovers he shares DNA with an ancient celestial being, and that being awakens his power and alerts him that he must learn what it is to be an infinite supreme and a cosmic guardian. And that's basically the overlooking of Akolyte. If you're a fan of stories such as like Superman meets Luke Cage meets Dragon Ball, that's what Akolyte is.
Okay. Now, we did slip up slightly. Introduce yourself right quick. For those that may not know. Like, I got all excited, like, oh, we're talking about Akolyte, let's go. But hey, let the people know who you are right quick.
So my name is Lloyd Jones the Fourth.
That's my son.
My son. That's my son. No, so my name is Derek Lonzo Starr Allen. Most of y'all just know me as Lonzo. And I'm the CEO and founder of Konkret Comics, writer, creator of the legendary Akolyte, and the brand new Zoriel.
Yes.
Talk to me nice.
Bro, which that's got to be another one. We definitely got to record about that, because yeah, that first issue was pretty good. I like that little clip.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, we got to. Okay. It paused on me for a second. Okay, we talked a little bit about Akolyte's history. Let's talk about now the powers. Give us his power set. What all can Akolyte do, and then we'll start talking about scaling and stuff.
So at base, Akolyte has superhuman strength, speed, and agility. He has energy projection. He has charged up. He is cosmic level strength, speed, and agility. Energy projection. He's pretty invulnerable. You can't like just break his arm or something like that. Like he's extremely durable, and he can withstand some of the most harshest elements in the universe.
Okay.
And environments, I meant.
Okay. And what exactly is this, the energy that he's charging or what have you?
So we call it the Kokora force. It's called the Kokora. The Kokora is one of the primary elements that sparked the Big Bang, and sparked this universe. We would know it as dark matter.
Okay. So, So let's talk scaling wise in regards to strength, durability. Of course, you said superhuman strength and all of that. What is kind of the upper limits of strength that he's going to be able to kind of dish out when utilizing these abilities?
He's 100-ton and up guy. You know what I mean? It really depends on what the situation is at hand. Now, if it's something he's never done before, obviously it could tire him out, make him a little exhausted and overwhelmed. But pushed to the right level and right concentration, he should be able to do it. It also depends on if he's using the Kokora to do the task or if he's just using his brute strength, because he can choose in between the both.
Okay. So yeah, let's talk about that then. So like, what's he, sake of conversation, like what's he's benching essentially in base in comparison to like when utilizing the Kokora?
So base, just walking around, not charged up.
Mm-hmm.
He's in between that Spider-Man, Luke Cage range.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? He's strong. He's like he could rumble, some very durable people at base setting. Um, similar to how a Goku or
Okay.
Vegeta, like a Saiyan would do. Like they can just level up to when they need to. But if he
Mhm.
just wanted to fight you as a regular dude, he would. He just fight you hand to hand.
So my assumption with that, the durability is about the same too. So right, so like strength wise, like yeah,
Yeah,
Cap, Luke Cage, Spider-Man levels of strength, but durability, same thing. Bullets are kind of bouncing off of them type joint. Well,
yeah.
in the case of like Luke Cage, of course, I guess Spider-Man can still get shot, but in that sense.
Yeah, like similar to like how a Clark Kent is. Like, if
Okay.
bullets are flying, he may pretend like he's worried, but they're gonna bounce off him.
Okay. Okay. All right. And so then in comparison to, well, now in regards to the level that he's using, like out in space, like obviously he'd probably be strong enough to like lift spaceships and stuff like that. Is
Right.
he, and this might be a bit outlandish, is he Superman like pulling planets on his back type thing? Old school, obviously, Superman with that chain and
Like
stuff like that. Or where is he standing at?
like I hate saying those type of feats because those are like story feats. You know what I mean? That's like
Right, right,
things
right.
he's not just walking around carrying universes. Like Superman had to do it for a specific reason. Um, does Akolyte have the potential to be able to do that? Yes. I say if you
Okay.
just want to put him at a base level, you can put him up there with the Blue Marvels and the Sentries and the Adam
Okay.
Warlocks, those guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's up there. He's up there on that level. Gladiator, Superman, if you want to
Yeah.
say. You know what I mean? The Martian Manhunters. He's right there. He's right
Okay.
in that. Plus, if that was a rogue gallery in itself, he would be there.
I can dig that. Okay. So question, and you kind of answered it, but what came to mind initially in the middle of me asking that previous question, there was a character, indie character, in Tribal Force who basically was able to withstand like black holes and stuff like that. He Acolyte's able to survive something like that durability wise as well, yeah?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's space. That type of stuff is normal stuff. You know what I mean? That's stopping stars from expanding type stuff. You know, you know what I mean? That's a part of his duty as an infinite supreme. You know what I mean? As a son of a supreme, he's not an
Yeah.
infinite supreme. As a son of supreme, like that's the type of stuff that they do. They can try to tackle those type of tasks.
Okay. So now next up I got what is what is his level of speed?
Cool. So yeah, I was just saying it could depend on the situation. Obviously, he's not going to be moving ridiculously on Earth in between buildings, and it'll be similar to when in the Matrix when Neo was fighting Smith and he was flying through the city and them cars was all flying behind him,
Yeah.
piled up in the tornado. You wouldn't want to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's going to do what's sensible for the environment. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't want to kill people. He doesn't want to cause a lot of collateral damage. But if we're talking space travel, he can get to one end of the galaxy and back. Maybe 48 hours, 48 72 hours. So he can fly pretty fast.
Okay. Dang. Okay. What one of the things that I do appreciate, right, in what you just explained in regards to like his speed and stuff like that, and his concern with moving too fast on the planet. You don't really see that, right? Like you said, Neo, you see the chaos that's behind him because he's
Yes.
moving so
Yeah.
fast. But then you have Superman and Flash racing on Earth, and it's just like even like the Flash has the excuse of the Speed Force. Superman does not. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
he is generating that like what there should be chaos with as
It
fast
should
as
be
they're moving.
chaos. It should alter the spin of the planet. It could do a lot. You know what I'm saying?
All right, so we talked about the powers, we talked about the durability, we talked about the speed. So let's talk about his training, right? Because he's got power. Is he throwing that weight around, or does he have some actual like really good training up under his belt, and like what did all that entail?
So he was trained by one of the greatest fighters in the universe, man, King Kalan. King
Okay.
Kalan. King Kalan is he's the king of planet Nylos. He is a humanoid human, just like us. He doesn't have any superpowers or anything like that. Just uh, incredible technology and an extremely skilled fighter.
Okay.
Um, they go by Nylosian martial arts. It's a mixture of what we know of old ancient. Just imagine all of the martial arts of Earth combined into one form.
Mm.
That's what Nylosian martial arts is.
Okay. So it's kind of like the origin point almost, or
Yep.
it could be anyway. Okay.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Um. Hmm. You know, honestly, the technology messing me up kind of threw me off. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody that's watching, yeah, technology was just not on our side this whole episode so far. Goodness gracious. Okay, we talked about the training. We've talked about he's got martial arts training up under his belt. We've got
Yeah.
powers. We've got speed and agility. All of that other good stuff. What are some of the things that we see or will we see? Again, I don't want to dive into this like spoilery territory and stuff like that, but we know that he's got some pretty heavy hitters in his story coming up, right?
hmm
We got to see Children of Chaos in issue 3. We saw Veles in issue 1. What are kind of the threats that he's going to be dealing with, and are we going to see Akolyte push to those kind of upper limits of his abilities?
Oh yeah, he's gonna be pushed to his highest heights and also forced to go to his basics of base levels as well. So we're gonna get to see a good range of acolytes variety in his abilities of what he has to do, and we're also gonna see what he does if he doesn't have those abilities at the same
Okay.
time.
So is he like, this might be a Superman-esque question, right? But does he have any particular like weaknesses, right? Is he weak to like mind control or magic, if you would, or any artifacts, anything like that that's going to kind of give his opponent an edge in combat, or what are we looking at?
Oh yeah, he definitely has. He's definitely vulnerable to magic attacks. Robotic type technology type things, all sorts of things. He doesn't have anything like a kryptonite that like, what I'm
Right,
saying,
right.
he can't be around it or nothing like that. But yeah, no, he can be if you powerful and you can, do some things, you can hurt him for sure.
Okay.
You know
So
what I mean?
I asked that because you see, we see in plenty of media, right, where there's strong characters for the sake of strong characters, right?
Yeah.
One Punch Man, which I know he's
Yeah.
a parody character, a gag character, whatever you call him. Obviously your Superman, your Goku's and stuff where they continuously reach these higher and higher limits, yada yada yada. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to find where Acolyte kind of stood on that end of things in regards to
Oh yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He could definitely be injured, man. Off the top of my head, I think, like people that control, your mind, those people are probably his most dangerous threats. You know what I mean?
Okay.
People that he can't really be poisoned or anything like that. So
Mhm.
it got to be something a little deeper. Like either you hit really hard or you're a master at what you do.
Okay. Okay. So okay, I think I know I had a couple more, but again, that technology but messed it up, threw me off completely. So I think that's all I got. I'm gonna be honest with you. We're finishing off season 1 of Indie Breakdown here. You're the last one. And I'm
Right.
looking at, the various characters that we've had the opportunity to kind of go through. And I don't think there's any character necessarily on this initial list, on this initial one, because of course the roster will grow, right? We're in just to kind of
Yeah.
explain it really quick. Essentially, we do 10 indie breakdowns that'll make up the season, right? And then
Mhm.
we'll do an indie versus in between seasons, and we're going to use a randomizer wheel to determine those two characters that are fighting against each other. But
Oh
I'm
wow.
looking at this list and I'm like, I don't think so. Your potential opponents, if you're one of the one, if you get hit on the randomizer wheel, your current
Yeah.
potential opponents would be the Delta Dogs, Black Bow, Zyla from Rule in Hand, or Gehenna Imperium rather, Homeless Homeboy, Deja Vu, All Star might be a good one. Yeah, because he taps into the abilities of essentially every star in the galaxy or the universe. I gotta go back through that, but he could be a decent contender. But at the same time, as mentioned earlier, Acolyte's holding back stars from expanding in the first place. So it's just like you got the
Right,
power
right.
instrument with Metro, then you got Absolver, which you can make the
Wash,
argument with Vanquished,
wash,
but
wash.
you got to hit him with Vanquished, so that's gonna be a tough one. And then you have Shannon Noble from Scrap, who her fighting prowess is pretty good, but she doesn't have the not to have to do the video or post the video, so I don't want to spoil anything about that. But her martial arts might be able to contend, but the power output doesn't match up,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So,
It could be a fire matchup. You know what I'm saying? Because Acolyte don't. One of my favorite scenes from Winter Soldier was when the bull told Cap to put the shield down and fight him like a man. Cap was like, all right. And he went down to his level and fought him. You know what I'm saying? So I always thought that was kind of gangster to do. So that's something. I mean, Acolyte wouldn't mind. Wouldn't mind. Like he not just gonna stand there and just overpower you. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's more Vegeta Goku than anything. Like
he's
he
looking for
likes
that good fight.
he likes a good rumble. He don't want to just, you know what I mean? Wash it.
Okay. So you're saying hypothetically, then Absolver could vanquish him and call it a KO. No, but besides...
No, never.
Yeah,
I would never let Jamil get that satisfaction. I'll call Royale out for Absolver. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, yeah.
You know what I'm
Now
saying? I'll
that'll
call
probably,
Royale.
if you want to, for sure, that'll be an awesome to get you on for season 2, and get Zuriel in there, because, like I said, I do have questions based on how that ended, and we'll talk offline about that one. But
Because it really ain't nothing. Him vanquishing Zuriel with what are you vanquishing? Her weapons? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense.
yeah,
She has powers, but you know what I mean? It's not, I don't know. It just wouldn't make sense. So
yeah. So let's talk about that hypothetical really quick before we get ready to close out and stuff like that. Again, the only characters. I almost said Homeless Homeboy just now, but when we talked about that, and everybody that's watching or listening, you guys had the opportunity to check that episode out, so no spoilers on that yet. But with Homeless Homeboy, he did mention the fact that in regards to strength, his power output is only slightly above or on par, rather, with like a Spider-Man, which, as you stated in this, that's Acolyte's base without using a Kokor. So he might initially that'd be a cool little first encounter, but the moment Acolyte even uses a percentage of his actual ability, he's going to start getting outclassed. So the only 2 on this list with an ability or anything that could even hold a candle to Acolyte utilizing the Kokor would be All-Star or Absolver.
I feel like the real question wouldn't be how much power they can put out, how much can they take?
Yeah, and
I'm saying, because the durability is Acolyte's true feat.
Yeah,
is he can handle that type of, you know what I'm saying, pressure. He can fly to an asteroid and be cool. He can do things like that. He can almost shatter a planet if he punched. And this was in basic training when he first got his powers unlocked. He almost shattered the moon. You know what I'm saying? By punching the ground. That was by accident.
Yeah.
So now that he knows what to do with himself, it's just like a young karate student, and you fresh in, and they tell you to punch the board. You don't know how to do it. You have the power to do it, but you don't know how to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
and I remember exactly what you're referencing in regards to the whole thing with the moon. I think when him and Abner were training, right, and he was just like, "Yeah, if you was back on Earth, you could have devastated a lot." So that's why this is why we here.
Exactly.
So okay.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think it's really what type of durability do they have, man?
Yeah, the characters have.
If you in endurance as well, you know what I mean? You could be fighting for a minute. Can you put out that much? He has damn near infinite energy sources around him.
Right, because he's pulling from dark matter. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's dangerous. And I think one of the things that really, and we're not necessarily getting off track or anything like that, but just looking at the feats and just the leg up he has on a lot of these characters is the training, right? A lot of
yeah,
times in traditional comic books, right, we see the hero already in it. We don't get to see the training stuff like that. And we got a glimpse of the training, right? You already talked about how Kalon trained him.
yeah,
We talked about how basically he got
yeah.
the Nilos training. He got like the whole regimen, right?
Yeah,
And then he got the powers unlocked by Abner. Like he was already him
and then
before
not
the
to mention,
powers.
he went for training with his father after issue 1. That's just something I
Right.
didn't show y'all, but there's a time gap in between issue 1 and issue 2. You know what I'm
Same.
saying? And in that training, he was out with his pop, learning the force. You know what I mean? Learning how to really do some things that he needed to do, get some
Yeah.
answers. So
That's
that's the main reason why I wanted him to get just training first, because with great power comes great responsibility, man. And
right.
a lot of these overpowered dudes, they don't know how to fight. You know what I mean? When you take
Mhm.
Superman's powers away, he's getting slapped around easily.
Yeah.
Like he's like me and you could beat him down. Like no
Ah.
problem. No problem at all. Low diff.
Oh my God! Without the powers, it's over.
Yo,
No, it's
yeah.
funny you bring that up. Kind of not necessarily a shameless plug. This is a Midnight Comic Story, but like
Right.
Soul, he's strong, but one of the main points in issue 3 is that they're like, bro, like Anubis tore you up, bro. Like you gotta learn how to fight. You're not used to fighting somebody on your level. You're just throwing your weight around. Like we need for you in order to stand a chance against anything else that's on this same level as you or above. You gotta learn how to fight. You gotta learn how to you can't just be a brawler out here in these streets. So yeah, it's funny that you bring that up because that's 9 times out of 10, that's exactly the case.
It
Oh, I
makes
have
sense.
powers. Oh, I can fly. I got super strength. Cool.
Yeah.
Right. And 9 times out of 10, without somebody to train you, without somebody to tell you what those are, we're not gonna go out there and train. We're gonna be like, I got all the power I need. Why I gotta go out and do? Well, now you're gonna lose.
Yeah, training. People got to think about Acolyte is like in the beginning he's like Goku was with Master Roshi, and now he's at the stage where it's like you're fighting a Goku that has fought against the God of Destruction, who
Yeah.
kind of who's gauged power levels that you can't even imagine. You know what I'm saying? He's already seen that before. But now he's also still understanding himself and what he can do. So a lot of his biggest faults are his own confidence, understanding
Mm.
like his responsibility and what he needs to do, which I showed in issue 3, where you see the opening segment of him training, and then Kalon is like, "Well, try me," and he still couldn't mess with Kalon. You know what I'm saying? Kalon had to tell him, "Yo, I know you got skills, you powerful, but I'm
Do
seasoned.
not. Right. It's that
I'm
experience.
seasoned.
Right.
So it don't matter what you got. I'm gonna figure you out." You know what I mean? And that was the lesson of issue 3, is that you can be all powerful all you want, but these cats ain't playing with you out here. You know what I mean?
Same. And to go back on a statement that I said a little bit, it might not be fair because some of these characters have had training. So let me retract that initial statement. But quite a lot of the times, and I think I tried to word it in a way where it's like 9 times out of 10, comic book character. A lot of time with comic books, we don't get the origin story initially.
Right.
Like issue 1, 2, 3, like it'll be they're already in the action stuff like that, and then we might get an origin story after. This is how they got to this point. But like
Right.
like Black Bow, if we're talking about Indy, we see him right in the middle of the action. We don't get to see that regiment. So the dangerous thing is because we like to use the canon when we do the Indy verses, we have the feats, we have the tradings, we have the growth already, right? We've seen him under, if we want to use the Dragon Ball example, 2 masters already in
Yeah.
King Kalon and Abner. And
Yeah.
Abner, again, like you said, he's a infinite supreme. That's like what, like
Yeah.
in I guess
That'd be equivalent to like a Lord Barris. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Or like somebody right in that level. You know what I mean? Right there. That's like they're already tapped into a level that you know what I mean. You
Man,
can't fathom.
he
So
got
he
end of series training in issue 1.
and the same thing with like if we are going to talk about Goku and Barris, Barris only showing them like 10%. He's not showing them everything. He's just showing them a little something. You know what I mean? And that's the same with Abner. He can't show him everything. A lot of stuff he's gonna have to experience over time and learn on his own. He just showed him the basics of what you got to do to, and then once Akolyte gets to another level, he probably gonna train him something else, show him something else he can do.
You know, you just reminded me of a question I had for you. So you did mention he's not going to get, like, he can't get poisoned and stuff like that. So he's not getting affected by any, like, sicknesses or anything of that nature, correct?
Not that it would have to be something like engineered specifically. You know what I'm saying? Like something that, like, somebody got to go crazy. You know what I mean? Somebody got to really go crazy. Like,
okay. Like purposely, like, take his DNA or something like that. Can he? You know what? Stealing a line from Batman v Superman. Can he bleed? Like, can he, like, actually be? It just depends on somebody.
He can bleed. I mean, he can bleed. You know, you just got to hit him hard enough. You know what I mean? He can definitely bleed, but it got to be like think about it. Did we see Superman bleed outside of Doomsday?
Nah.
Maybe around a little kryptonite poison, and he may get cut. You may see a little cut in here, but we never seen him like bloody nose, swollen eye before. You know what I mean? Okay. So, and that was just raw strength. That had nothing to do with kryptonite. It was just like, this dude hits hard. So, you know what I mean? Superman can be punched on and he can bleed. You just got to be able to hit that hard. You know what I mean? To cause that.
So the only possible wins here is somebody that can mind control, somebody that's on equal or above level of his level of strength, and an engineered virus specifically for him. So somebody that's got to be monitoring him for a while, that engineered something specific. Okay.
Yeah, it would take a lot of like, Akolyte's not somebody you just want to just random encounter with. You know what I mean?
Right. No.
You kind of will want to know what's going on here. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because you go and swing at him and break your hand. You know what I mean?
Right. That reminds me of a scene in Injustice, I think it was, where Superman just stood still, let Batman punch him, he fractured his hand or something. I was like, that's accurate.
Yeah, that same thing happened in Luke Cage as well. Luke Cage, he broke his whole wrist, his hand. Just, you got to be strong enough.
Okay.
You know, it's the same as Wolverine. Wolverine, you hit him hard enough, you can knock him out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
But like people like Juggernaut and them don't have a problem knocking his ass out. But a person like me and you, we wouldn't be able to do it at all.
Right. Okay. This is good. Okay. So, dang. Yeah.
And for all the Konkret Comics listeners, I didn't create Akolyte in a way to make them unbeatable. This is just what it is. This is just what makes sense. This is just what makes sense for what he does. You know what I mean? Everything. I'm not just pulling stuff out of my hat. Like, the power does what it does. His training, it makes him a formidable fighter, one of the top fighters. Yeah. And then, training is probably the thing that sets him apart from almost damn near everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So, and you know what? Thinking about, if I would, thinking about Superman avatars, if you will, right? I'm thinking about, like, obviously a Homelander is not facing off against him.
Homelander's getting treated. But well, from Invincible, he had training.
Man, that's what I was getting at. He's got some years of training on him. So if we were to, this is a hypothetical thing.
So dangerous. But that's why he's so dangerous. Thor, dangerous. They've been out there for a minute. Okay. Thor been fighting for like 4,000 years, just rumbling. All kind of frost giants and other cats. So that's why when Thor in the comics, that's why Thor is one of those dudes, man.
Yeah, act like dropping MCU Thor easily, for sure.
Yeah, MCU
comics Thor could be.
Comics Thor is out of pocket, bro. He's literally out of pocket. You know what I mean? Even and that's probably why Thor be kind of washing a lot of the dudes on his level because of that training. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just it just makes sense. It really makes. That's why his father Odin. People don't want to mess with him. He's been fighting too long.
Right. You start talking about Odin Force and stuff like that. You're like, oh.
You throw a Silver Surfer out there, when you take away his power, he's nothing. But he is Silver Surfer is pure power based. Like he don't really have fighting skills. Just like that power cosmic is like ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So, okay. You know what? And this now this is just genuinely me. Like, ooh, I had questions. So, talking about the comics and stuff like that. With his villains currently, obviously, we all know about like Valesse and stuff like that, and everything that happened in issue 1. The fact that she's kind of going around and taking planets and stuff, and she, everything about the Children of Chaos and stuff. I'm trying to remember what the comic stuff was, and then some of the offline discussions that we had in regards to it. If there was a full scale battle on the planet, and he obviously Akolyte can't be everywhere at once. Valesse sent all their forces and stuff like that. Is he going to get tired before he saves the entire planet from Valesse and her forces? Trying to think of his endurance at this point. That's one of the things I know we talked about durability and stuff, but like his endurance. How long is he able to fight for, or is the Korra constantly providing him with he needs to keep going?
When it comes to just standard fighting, like the rumbling part, you know what I'm saying? Like that don't take too much energy from him. He's just fighting. But he's fused with the energy around him. But now when it comes to like him, like say he had to hold like a building from falling, he's using the Kokoro force to like hold it up, that could strengthen him a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? If he has to use that. If this is a fleet, y'all see him fight a fleet on issue 5. He just running through them, or even issue 4. There was a bunch of robots. He was rumbling. Whereas you saw Sith Row was getting tired. He was like, you know what I mean? He was ready to rumble, but it was way too overmuch. It was too much for him. Those robots quickly overwhelmed Sith Row.
Gotcha.
And I mean, he ran through them people because now he has a higher endurance than them. But them robots, they're limitless. They don't have no struggle. So he was quickly apprehended,
quickly overwhelmed
at that moment. And it wasn't until Akolyte came through, and they really couldn't hurt Akolyte, so he was just really just cleaning up. You know what I mean? But the fact that there was so many of them made it a task.
Okay. And so that's that's kind of what I was leading to, because it's like if she comes down, or whoever, a villain coming soon or whatever like that is coming down, I'm thinking about, if I were to again make a comparison to Marvel or whatever like that, Thanos and his whole crew comes down to Earth. Is, you know what I mean? And they, instead of going to one location, they're just like, no, scorched earth, we're taking over, we're dropping everybody. Would he get tired by the time he rids the earth of his forces, or is it gonna kind of be?
I think he would just go after the big dog. That would make the most sense. Going after the big dog, because while you doing all that, who's after the big dog? You know what I mean? Who's going to get him? Like when you can think about it, when Darkseid pull up and he got all them parademons with him, the parademons are swarming. The other guys got to handle it. They got to do that, because Darkseid is gonna be chilling here, just doing what he wants to do. So y'all go handle the swarm. I'll go get the big guy. You know what I'm saying? Before the big guy pulls up, Akolyte gonna be flying all around. He's gonna be doing all kind of things up in the sky, up in there, kind of like when the Avengers had to fight Loki in the swarm in New York. You know what I mean? Thor was tasked with closing the hole. That was like his job. Everybody else was fighting, but Thor had the biggest job out there. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I like to make sense of my stories, man. I don't want to. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to just be like, he'll be everywhere, fighting everybody, doing everything. Nah, what's needed, what is needed for his source. Like hypothetically, if there was a big, super group, which there is one coming, so Simmons Plug. But like if you got like Odina, Akolyte, Sith Row, say Watchmen, Primate, and Tenok on the same team, and there's giants walking around. Oh, that's gonna be, and there's little mini men. Oh, Akolyte and Odina and Tenok are fighting those big old giants, while the other guys are dealing with the smaller tasks. You know what I mean? And that just makes sense. What it is.
Okay. I think that's all I got. So before we close out, then, let the people know where they can find you, where they can check out Akolyte and all that good stuff.
So once again, my name is Lloyd Jones the fifth. You can find me at Midnight
Oh,
Comics.
they multiply.
So my name is Lonzo Starr. You can find me at concretecomics.com or Concrete Comics on IG, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm never calling it X, so Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Concrete Comics. You can find me at Lonzo Starr, also on IG, Facebook, and Twitter. Um, and outside of that, man, just follow us on Patreon. We got a lot of exclusives. We got a lot of stuff dropping year round. A lot of good events, and it's just been fun, man. It's been an event. So once again, thank you for having me, bro.
For sure, for sure. And everybody that's listening and watching, of course, Lloyd Jones of Midnight Comics. You can find us everywhere as Midnight X Comics, except for Facebook and YouTube, where it'll just be Midnight Comics. Thanks for tuning into another Indie Breakdown. This is actually the season finale of Indie Breakdown. I think we ended it off really good with a heavy hitter, not only with the character, but of course, as a indie comic book publisher with Konkret Comics. So again, thank you for coming on. And the next time you see us, or see me rather, we're going to be doing our randomizer wheel for the Indie versus matchup. So one of these 10 characters, they go to Sif Row joint. See, I got to get like y'all. Homeless Homeboy showed some stuff off too at one point. I was just like, man, one day, maybe a plan for 2024.
What's going to happen, bro? King Kalon in the building. Come on, man.
I need a Kalon one shot or series, sir.
Oh, it's on the way. I even got Big Dog out here.
Y'all, anybody that's listening, he is showing us the action figures for Abner, King Kalon, Sif Row, and I know he got a statue somewhere.
Oh, I do, but I ain't bringing that one down. That's not my fault.
If y'all want to see the statues of Akolyte, definitely, again, check them out on the social medias that you're seeing, Konkret Comics, and take a look at that and get or visit the website, concretecomics.com, and go ahead and get you one. Yeah, so the next thing will be the Indie Versus, and then we'll do the randomizer wheel to determine who the two are going to be, and then we're going to get you guys involved. We want to hear your thoughts between the two characters that get matched up, who you think is going to win, and then if you haven't had a chance to check out those creators, of course, watch our videos and them talking about it, but also pick up their stories. Actually put your money where your mouth is and support these indie creators, so that you guys can, so these stories can continue, and then we can further have more feats, more storylines, and other stuff to really keep these conversations going. But anyway, anybody, let me not ramble. Remember, until next time, everybody, midnight is coming, and we'll catch y'all then.